In modern society, we have built a world that runs on the terror of stillness. If you stay in silence just for a short while and you put away your phone, don't engage with media, what you'll quickly feel is a sense of anxiety, worry, and fear. Maybe even a bit of confusion and self doubt about your place in the world. You worry about just existence itself, about your life situation despite being relatively safe. You find anything to worry and to engage your mind. This is not normal. This is not what a healthy human felt like back in the caveman days. We have built a society that hates silence and that isn't able to stay with oneself. And in my own experience, I feel very pleasant and peaceful when I'm just doing nothing and meditating and sitting in silence in my room or in my garden. But then I also do feel an impulse to engage with media and enjoy content. So it's not about demonizing information itself. The question is, do you feel fundamentally okay with your life? Do you feel fundamentally okay with the world and existence? And I can tell you that there is a contradiction here where you can both feel very okay and actually strive to make the world a better place. Like, look at me, I'm here trying to tell you that things are fundamentally okay while also trying to genuinely help people and build a business doing so. Because I do think that things can be better. I do think that having more money is better than having less money. I love making money, in fact, and I love being useful. But underneath all of it, I understand that my work means very little in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not really changing the world with anything that I do. And I can look at the world in all its gruesome detail and still say it's fundamentally okay. I think that's the thing. To sense the fundamental okayness in the world when you don't engage in information. And I'll address all the counter arguments regarding this claim of fundamental okayness later in this video, because it might actually be a very controversial thing to say, right? You see all of this suffering and political problems and tensions and economical collapses and AI and all of this, and you might say there's something fundamentally wrong with the world. Things are not okay. So you saying it's okay is like a slap in the face to everybody who is struggling and have problems and has problems. But there's this conflict in the duality between these two ideas about feeling at peace and still feeling compelled to act. So the important thing is to know that whatever you consume isn't what is actually happening in the world. Whatever you consume is your particular lens that you've chosen to take in a particular moment in time about this particular place in the world or a particular place in the world. Everything is so much vaster and bigger than what your own perception might make you believe. And if you get in contact with that, then the reason you are afraid of silence or uncomfortable in silence is because things actually feel very meaningless. They feel empty. Like you can see that you are so little in the grand scheme of things that you kind of want to devalue yourself and not take whatever is going on in your life seriously enough. Or you, are technically pretty wealthy, but still are looking for some sort of purpose or meaning that fulfills you. And staying in silence gives you a clearer sense of this absolute pointlessness of, the search for meaning. But if you then stay in silence for long enough and you do it deeper and deeper, then even in this emptiness, you'll likely find some sadness, some mourning, some melancholy about times of the past. So in spirituality, it is very common to say that I feel empty or I feel the meaninglessness of existence or nothing really matters. But then underneath, we're kind of sad about something. And then we kind of ignore this and don't really want to engage with this. So if you engage with your silence for longer, I promise you, things about yourself will reveal itself to you if you keep staying in this presence, if you keep staying away from whatever media is trying to be fed into your brain. But things being okay when you're still isn't really in media's interest, isn't it? Who wants to buy the new Nike shoes if the shoes that you have are all you need? Why going to look out for more validation and outrage if things are just fine? How are all of these YouTubers going to make their money if they cannot start drama about some false accusation about some random guy and make their entire life about sad drama? It's like we crave conflict. The silence and the stillness, when we are really in it, makes us feel like we need something to agitate it. It's almost like we don't want things to be okay. So information addiction is the perfect protection against the confrontation towards yourself. You don't want to actually be confronted with your own nature. So you go towards a perpetual state of distraction, reaction towards news, live events, media, random personal drama from a guy that you've never really met but think you know because you've seen a ton of content from him. So we never come in contact with what actually would be generating if you look within, if you actually stayed in silence for a while without outside input. It's like nowadays, when you talk to somebody, you can almost feel like they are not their own people, they are not their own personhood, but they're just the amalgamation of information that the algorithm fed to them. So we become kind of processors of information rather than genuine source code. Information feels like we can engage with this world without having any personal stakes and risk involved. You can watch hundreds of videos about building a business without ever facing the discomfort of actually selling something. You can read about meditation without actually having to practice it, and then you feel like you're learning something. You can consume endless advice about the scientifically accurate way to build muscles without really having to move a single one. So why is silence then so powerful if silence would still be doing more of nothing or just, not engaging with the world at all? I'm talking as if silence is some sort of miracle cure that will solve all problems, but how would that actually be the case? Why, if I don't engage with media, would my life change in any significant way? It doesn't make sense. Well, the reason that silence is so powerful, and I will come to this to a second, but the reason I say silence instead of meditation is because silence is what really matters here more than anything else. It's to be confronted with what is there when everything else is removed. And this is why it doesn't really matter so much if you take some formal meditation setting or sitting and then are in perfect lotus position for 1 hour with your eyes closed. Of course, this is amazing, but you could also just stare at a wall. It would have a very similar effect. It also doesn't matter if you're lying down or if you're sitting or if you're standing, really. I personally have found sitting to be most effective, and if you lay down, of course, you could fall asleep, which also might indicate that your body needs rest. But if you really stay present with yourself in silence, I promise you, you will learn something about yourself because you are not used to doing so. If you stay in silence and have any sort of thought, it doesn't matter what thought, you actually are not 100% in silence. You've not really learned how to turn your thoughts off, because the moment you turn off the external media landscape and you turn inward, then your own brain is going to generate media for you because you're so full of it that you're not actually accessing the silence, even when you're trying to. So there's a skill that you can learn by exhausting the mind, by staying in silence for a longer time. Your mind will run itself out. There will be a point where you have no thoughts to think anymore and you're bored. And then you'll actually be able to meditate, how meditation is supposed to be like. So there's a skill that you might actually not be aware that is even possible. Depending on how much meditation experience you've had, you might have actually never known what silence actually is like, except when you sleep. But even this is for most people not silent at all because of the dreams that keep hunting them. So believe me when I say that there's a state of peace that you can access once you train your mind to not think and be present with your present moment experience, where things are fundamentally okay. And all the sense of problem making and confusion and distress is built up through our human collective society, through our human dreaming and struggles and problems that are somewhat self-created as, a collective. And I can talk later about practical necessities, about having to do things, of course. So it's not that all problem, for example, health concerns are just all imaginary and made up. But most problems that we think about are about the past or the future, and they're not actually present. And we just keep hurting ourselves because something that happened in the past is haunting us back now, or something that is going to happen 5 hours from now is hurting you right now, which is just prolonging the problem. It is putting it into a situation where it isn't actually present. But instead of just telling you, okay, turn off all media, go into a room and sit in silence, you will think a lot of thoughts. And I'm not telling you to just ignore them and suppress them and act as if they're not there. That would be suppression, and it's also not effective. So instead of meditation, what you can do is active inquiry. Wonder, what are your thoughts actually trying to tell you underneath them? Not to get stuck in the narratives or stories they're trying to tell, but to wonder, is there like a core truth that you can figure out about what is it actually pointing to, and then stay there? The information addiction is making it so that you want to distract yourself from this inner voice, so that you can remain on surface level and keep ruminating instead of going a layer deeper and actually following the insight that wants to emerge. So maybe you want to write your thoughts down so you can actually understand what they mean. You can, for example, take an idea that, many seekers have, like, my existence doesn't matter. Like, I'm such a useless speck of dust. Like, who cares what I do? And then this thought motivates you into inaction. But while you have this thought, it's not that it's not that you need to deny it or say that, no, this is false. But you can ask yourself, what do I actually mean with piece of dust? What do I mean with meaninglessness? What would meaning look like? Is there a way I could invert this and actually see how I am more important than I think? So it's not about proving you're wrong or proving you're right, but to wonder what makes you think that. Because usually these thoughts go into spirals and they never actually find a point. But if you can recognize that there's something underneath, some emotion or sensation or some insight that these thoughts are pointing towards, then you can actually exhaust the mind by doing this process. So whenever you find a contradiction, like one part of you says, but it is right, I am completely insignificant in this world. And then this other part says, oh, but my son loves me, or my brother loves me, or whoever, your best friend, it doesn't matter. And it's like, are both true at the same time, maybe? Is one true and one false? And in this way, you can collapse the duality that is going on in your mind and be comfortable in either the contradiction or in the not knowing. And then you can see that, your mind will spin in circles forever, but these thoughts, they don't really define you. You can look at these thoughts from like a bird's eye view and wonder, okay, so I've thought this now, what comes next? And then kind of observe them from a distance. Then you are one step closer to genuine silence. You have like a bunch of knots in your head that are like mangled together because of all of these polarities and ideas. But if you do this inquiry, then they kind of loosen themselves, and then it becomes much easier to stay in silence and pierce through them. So if you do this for a while, and then you stay in silence and you don't have as much thoughts, or you have less thoughts, then there will be a desire to, grab your phone again or consume media again. But it's not that you can go from 0 to 100% silence, but as more time passes and the more often you do this, the easier it will become to not follow this reaction. But if this reaction happens, you also don't want to judge yourself for it, because it would just, feel the same cycle. It's fine. It's a habit that you've had for a long while now, so it will take some time before you feel comfortable not engaging with stuff all the time. It's not that it's bad in of itself. I mean, information has a ton of learning opportunities if you don't just spin your head in circles. But the deeper underlying theme here is that in either case, your subconscious or your unconscious has something that it would like you to know, some realization that you're denying yourself. The moment you reach this truth will always feel like you've always known it, but just denied yourself of that certainty. Meaning that the problem is not that you don't know, but you act as if you can't be certain about it. And once you actually come in direct contact with the truth, then it's like a whiplash. It hits you, and there's no denying anymore. And this is what the rumination actually wants to point towards, but it is skillfully avoiding, so it never has to go a layer deeper. And as long as you consume outside information, you'll keep getting pulled to the surface instead of going deeper down. So, the moment you have followed this process a few times, you will see that silence in and of itself becomes a lot more peaceful then. Because these thoughts, even if they do happen, they have less of a pull. They matter less. You understand they're more like a machine running itself out. So now what can happen is that, you have less thoughts, but you still feel very empty when you're in silence. It doesn't feel like a peaceful type of emptiness, but a yearning type of emptiness. Like nothing really matters, but you wish that something would matter. And then in this case, you can move more directly from thought into feeling. And then you actually focus on the emptiness itself. You become curious about it. Like, what is underneath this emptiness? Is it just peace? Serenity? Because if not, if there's something unsatisfying about it, then there must be something else. Maybe melancholy or sadness. Whatever feeling it is, even if it is a positive one, which if it is amazing, if you then focus on it, then whatever feeling there is, it becomes more intense. You pierce through it like a laser pointer, and then you illuminate whatever is going on there. And the more you've trained not to get lost in thought and be steady and focused, it increases. And whatever increases, be it sadness or contentment, it is almost as if your body has stored this emotional energy in your unconscious and hidden it through your thoughts. And now that you've peeled this layer away and you're focusing on it directly, you are magnifying it. You're putting a magnifying glass on something that was always stored in your body. And it's not just like some abstract idea, like it is literally energy that has been stored in your body that wants to be released. And oftentimes you have to move through a ton of shit, but once you reach a sliver of contentment, a sliver of peace, keep focusing on it. Don't reject it. Don't be afraid of it. It is meant to be this way, okay? It is actually good. And you can experience a ton of serenity and okayness that you didn't expect was there. And it often finds itself actually after sadness or in sadness. And sadness often is hidden by a layer of anger, and from anger often is a lot of thought. It's much more difficult for people to connect with anger than with sadness. I mean, people think they are connecting with anger when they express anger, but no, it's anger at the end is anger towards yourself. And it's much more difficult to handle because sadness often comes with more compassion. But this is for another video. So what you often find underneath this emptiness, this, I don't care about anything, is a gold mine of sadness and regret. And once you see through it and feel through it, you can come back to the same emptiness. And then the same I don't care about anything nothing means anything, instead of feeling like this yearning or seeking, becomes peaceful. Yes, there is an emptiness to reality and a meaninglessness to reality that is actually true, that is real on some fundamental layer. But it's not true in the way the ego makes it out to be, because the sense of self, the personal identity, makes it about oneself. It wants you to be meaningful and significant, your personal story to matter specially. And this is what it actually finds. It's that all of this story making that you've been living with your entire life never was that significant. But reality doesn't care about any of that. It is the way it is, and it's completely okay in doing so. And also, it is also important to note that this internal work is more like a spiral. So you might move through different stages multiple times in your life, depending on what is going on in your life. But then you'll get in contact multiple times through the spiral. I'm not talking about the thought spiral now, but about just the spiral of processing emotion, processing thoughts, processing contentment and happiness, awareness, ego dissolution. Like it's not like a straight line that you go from one consciousness dissolution point to just complete oneness and emptiness, but you move through different layers. So you'll multiple times come towards a layer of unshakable peace, and it is one that once it is completely seen, once it is completely realized without any sort of doubt, then you actually become locked into it. Then you understand the nature of what it means to be a human and to experience life in its ups and downs without the distortions of emotions or thoughts. And then you see that there is an okay-ness to it that is actually fundamental, and it is true beyond just mere concepts and beliefs and ideas. Then the relationship to yourself becomes more compassionate, because the relationship towards other people becomes more compassionate too. You understand that everybody is stuck in this weird framework of mental concepts and buried emotions and buried thoughts. They never have untangled. So then all emotions become just from this feeling that they matter exactly how much they matter and not more. And you don't have to fix them. There's nothing to be fixed. And you also see other people in this way too. You don't see other people as fundamentally broken or as evil or as if they should be something else. Then all emotions become always a cathartic release. Instead of holding on to the energy and blocking this energy from your thoughts, you just let go and feel like you flow with whatever your body is making you want to see. The issue is that if you have suppressed this process for a long while, then crying won't feel so good. Then it will most likely feel more like a knife that cuts from the inside while coming out through your lungs. But the only way out of this is through, away from media, away from external information, and through silence. All the worries that you have about the world and existence, all the pain and the suffering that you see in this world, all that it is to be fixed and needs to change, it all is happening no matter what you do. No matter how much you suffer because of it, no matter what you experience in relationship to it. Like, if you just die right now, the world is exactly going to be the same. Most of us are not going to do a dent in the entire suffering of this world. But when you put yourself into an accurate context of what your life is like, then you actually have immense impact. You as an individual change a ton about what is happening in the world. And this is why you finding peace within yourself is genuinely important to me. It is meaningful from the perspective of the individual, and then this ripples into society and changes how everybody else relates to themselves and the world too. At the end, no matter how brutal this world is, time is mercy and time is a gift. When you see that both of these coexist, then you can move away from the pain, but also be grateful of the amazing life that you have built, about the incredible opportunities that lie ahead, for all that you've become, to mourn the path peacefully. Say that it is gone, and then look ahead to what could emerge with curiosity, without constricting yourself into it needing to be in a certain way. To use the power that you do have effectively for whatever you want to see next. The machine of modern society is trying to rob you of this peace. It is trying to make you care about things that don't matter, trying to convince you that therefore nothing matters. Believing in frameworks that aren't real. To turn towards silence is to turn away from this trap that has been built for you. But that's the collective struggle that we all are facing, each with our individual nervous system, each trying to be manipulated into fueling into the system of duality. And as cliche as the sound, we are all in this together. The algorithms have learned exactly how to hijack your consciousness to make you into a mindless consuming drone that never learns to know itself. And it doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter how famous you are, it doesn't matter how much philosophy content you've consumed or spirituality books you've written. This is a struggle that is deeply ingrained into our zeitgeist. And I've seen all walks of life falling into this because, just our bodily architecture runs under the same hardware. And both governments and businesses have figured out how to tap into that. But the fact that you have watched this so far shows that you are an outlier. It's not usual to move into these very deep introspective topics for the time that you have right now, and to actually consider this topic of moving towards silence and away from media seriously. Most people have forgotten that this is even an actual option. They run so much on autopilot that they think there's no way out. But there always is a way out. There always is a path towards freedom. You just need to have the courage to look. And if you think that this okay-ness that I'm talking about isn't really possible, then this is what is going to be true for you. You'll be stuck in this framework. And it's difficult, right? Because you see people getting misused and abused. The world is full of evil, and you feel like someone needs to fix it. And it's easy to say that it's all okay as a guy who is well off in a safe house with, it's 4 walls and a YouTube channel. Everybody can, do this from this position, right? But every person has their own part to play in their life. And if there's something that you can help people with, then good, do so. You have a calling. You have something that actually matters to you. You have meaning. It's not empty. So you're not supposed to just let the world suffer and be okay with it. But to not suffer because you have no power over something is reasonable. Imagine that this Earth is just one planet out of 100 planets in this galaxy, which we both know this would be quite conservative. It's likely way more. But then imagine that there are maybe even multiple timelines or multiple universes. And of course, I could just increase the number of planets. I don't know why I have to make it so abstract. But the amount of experiences that are being had are so vast that your tiny human brain cannot possibly fathom it. So don't even try. Try to fathom that what is actually actionable to you. And then you'll find meaning that is significant. Because you know that your own life, when you get in contact with yourself, is very significant. Things are okay when you move the way you want to move. You have power to change what is immediately in front of you, and you have power about your own bodily autonomy. And the more you're okay with this fact, the more you see everything as okay. Everything being as what it is. Everything having to carry the burden that it has to carry. So if there's anything particular you felt through this video, then comment and tell me your experience. I rant for a lot of time without getting feedback, so any comment is greatly appreciated. I really read everything that you write, even if I don't respond. And if you want me to teach you directly, then there's a link in the description that you should click on. It's exclusive deep work one-on-one that I can help you with. It's for those who have the means and are serious about spiritual transformation. I only do this with a small number of people, and yeah, it is quite deep stuff, so you won't find the type of service that I provide anywhere. And if you're wondering why life still feels meaningless to you, then I'd watch this video next.